Okay, so I have pulled off the air compressor and the injection pump due to the slop it had, and we got them in here. So we changed the front piece here and put a new O-rings and springs and stuff in the top of it, and I need to put that back on there, but I can't retime that till I can get this motor to turn over right. And so that means we got to do the clutch, and messing around with that this morning, we decided that it's going to be too hard to put the spacers in and everything on the clutch through the little hole, much less turn the motor over. So we're going to slide this motor forward far enough to put that together, and then we're gonna try and finish it up. So right now I'm getting set. I got the hoist hooked onto the frame. I'm getting set to pull these bolts so we can pull that cross member out. First I gotta get a jack and put a block of wood under there and jack it up. Hold the motor up while I lift the frame. So we'll see how far we get today. Okay, so we've got it out here, and we decided we'd pull valve covers because we couldn't get it to turn over, so we were looking at all that and everything. But we found that when we put it together, we forgot to tighten these 3 top bolts up here, and so the flywheel was pressing up against them hard enough that it wouldn't let it turn. So we're fixing that right now. I bought a tap to fix the threads that we boogered up, and then so now that it turns over, I got my timing mark here inside for my this thing don't want to focus good. So you can see my timing mark for the air compressor. And so now I'm going to be able to put that on. And I got to clean out the cylinder intakes and put the new, put the manifold on. With my new gaskets, I got to get rid of this hose. This hose. So I can now start putting it back together as soon as I get this figured out. So I'm gonna get back to work. Alright, so we got everything fixed on this. It spins over good. Flywheel's back in, clutch is in. So after supper we're gonna stuff it back in to the Mack. Did a little scraping, so I cleaned this side up a little more while we were messing around with everything else and waiting on stuff, so it's pretty much ready to go back in now. Right, so last night we didn't quite get the motor in, so it's still like just hanging there. So this morning I'm going to mess around with trying to get it further on. We'll see how far I get. Okay, I got the motor hooked to the bell housing, and I've got everything hooked up to where now I just have to readjust my clutch. because it's way out of adjustment. And I don't know why. So, I don't remember, maybe we unhooked it. Or unadjusted it or something. Anyway, I gotta readjust it. I'm gonna pull the truck back so I can pull these bolts out, lift this up, and put my crossmember back in, to front motor mount crossmember. And then I can set the motor down and get it bolted on, put the harmonic balancer back on the front of it. I can work on putting the air compressor back on and the water pump on and manifolds and get this thing set up. So I'm going to drag it back and start back on putting it back together. Alright, so I've been working all afternoon, and this is where I'm at. I gotta pull this pulley back off because I forgot the rubber bushing that goes in there. So I gotta get it back off. I'm gonna run into town and get some bolts for up here because I don't have any. This is the intake manifold assembly off of the motor that come out of this truck because the aftercooler wouldn't fit in here. Then I got to get some more of these because the aftercooler took longer bolts and I don't have enough longer bolts. So I got my air compressor back on and my fuel pump back on. And yeah, I got the harmonic balancer on, the front motor mount hooked up, the water pump back on. And I think really all I have left is to find a alternator, put the starter in after I fix that deal and put those other bolts in. Then I gotta get rid of some hoses that were for the aftercooler. So I got a few more things to do to it. But for right now, we're doing pretty good. So I'm gonna run in and grab some bolts and worry about pulling this thing off after that. Okay, so I got all my bolts and got the manifold torqued down. And I put this on this direction and tight just to make sure there's no moisture that goes down in the intake. And I got this other one on so nothing goes down in the turbo. And that's all I'm going to get done for this week on it. Quite a ways actually. But I still need to pull this pulley off and put that thing in, but that'll wait till next week. But for having it out and fixing the clutch problem, getting it back in this far is pretty good for one day. So that's all I'm going to get done for this week. We'll see what I get done next week.